You know when you are trying to learn, like, a new dance and you just picture those neat little painted footprints on the floor?
Oh yeah, like step one, step two, turn.
Exactly. It is mapped out and it feels super safe. But what happens when the music just completely stops making sense and the dance you are desperately trying to follow is actually the grieving process?
Right. That is such a powerful image. And welcome to today's deep dive, where our mission is to explore exactly that.
Yeah, we are looking at this really poignant narrative called Fragile Hearts. It completely upends how we think about this delicate, complex balance between deep sorrow and, everyday hope.
It really does. And the author grounds this whole exploration in two intensely relatable characters. They meet in a scuffed-up community center for a Tuesday bereavement group.
Right, Elias and Clara.
Yeah, Elias is grieving his late wife, Sarah, and Clara, she recently lost her brother.
And their grief just looks completely different from each other. Like the story describes Elias as wearing his sorrow like a waterlogged coat.
Oh, wow. That is such a heavy visual.
I know, right? He moves like he is constantly apologizing for taking up space. It really captures how physically exhausting grief can be. But then Clara, she is just all restless energy.
Yeah, she is constantly twisting her silver rings and folding flyers and just, fidgeting nonstop.
Okay, let's unpack this. The narrative calls their behavior the choreography of mourning.
Choreography of mourning, exactly.
It sounds almost like they are putting on an emotional uniform every morning. They stick to these really rigid, polite steps.
Like the solemn nods and staring at the linoleum floor.
Right, and actively apologizing for crying. But why do our brains force us to stay so strictly within these lines of grief? I mean, it seems like it would just compound the misery.
Well, it does, but it actually serves a really vital purpose. Fundamentally, that predictable rhythm is a psychological defense mechanism.
Oh, interesting. Like protecting yourself.
Exactly. When you experience severe loss, your brain's cognitive load is just completely maxed out. So a rigid routine, even a really sad one, reduces the amount of new information you have to process.
So when your world shatters, following a script feels like the only thing keeping you from falling apart.
You hit the nail on the head. You do not have to think, you just follow the sad steps.
Yeah.
But humans are not built for permanent emotional rigidity.
No, we really aren't.
Grief is a demanding partner, but eventually our neural pathways seek variation. Human nature just gets tired of doing this heavy, monotonous waltz.
And we see that breaking point perfectly illustrated when that routine is disrupted. It is a rainy Thursday, and the group leader is delayed.
Right, and there's this slow jazz trumpet playing on an old transistor radio in the background.
Yeah, and Clara just starts tapping the glass, and she randomly confesses that her brother played the trumpet like a dying goose.
Which is so funny. And then Elias fires right back that his wife played the piano like every song was a race to the finish line.
It is such a brutally honest memory, not like that polished, saintly version of the deceased we usually feel obligated to offer.
Exactly. It is unsanitized, and it actually sparks a genuine smile from Clara.
But this is where I am really struggling with the text, honestly, because the narrative points out that this smile terrifies her.
Oh, absolutely. It terrifies her.
But my instinct says she should feel relieved to finally laugh. I mean, doesn't finding joy feel like a betrayal to the ghosts we carry? Clara literally fears that being happy for even a second will completely shatter her.
Well, joy threatens the choreography. If that emotional uniform comes off, she is vulnerable to the unpredictability of her feelings again. It feels like a betrayal.
Ah, so feeling joy means she is, like, leaving him behind, or at least she thinks it does.
That is the fear, yeah. But what's fascinating here is how Elias responds to that terror.
Because he gets it.
He does. He admits he feels that exact same fear every day. But he realizes that if he doesn't try to feel joy, he will simply turn to stone.
Wow. Turn to stone.
Yeah, and this is the core revelation of the story. Hope isn't the sudden banishment of the dark. And it certainly isn't erasing those lines of grief.
So what is it then?
Hope is the syncopation in the sheet music.
Yeah.
It is the space between the lines.
The syncopation, I love that.
Yeah.
Like that quiet beat where you catch your breath before the sorrow returns.
Exactly, and we see it physically manifest when Elias offers his hand.
Right, and they do not do some cinematic ballroom glide across the floorboards. It is so awkward and real.
No, they just do this clumsy swaying to an acoustic melody on the crackling radio.
They are terrified of breaking, but they dare to lean in anyway. It is amazing.
The crucial psychological shift here is that they aren't leaving their sorrow behind. They're actually bringing it with them into the movement.
And for you listening, this matters because it completely redefines healing. It is not about moving past your pain, like locking it in another room.
Right, it is learning to move with it. The tentative, beautiful art of fragile hearts learning a new rhythm.
Which leaves us with a really provocative thought to mull over today. Think about your own emotional life.
Yeah, we all have those boundaries we set for ourselves.
Exactly. What are the rigid, unspoken lines in your own emotional life that you are forcing yourself to stay within?
And more importantly, what quiet beat might you find if you dared to step outside of them?